I jumped in surprise when the studio door banged open and Sally barged in. Her face was smooth and calm, safe for the tiny wrinkles at the side of her mouth and eyes that she sought hard to escape. I stood up and wiped my hang on the apron, already panicking. When my mother was calm like this, then it meant something bad had happened.
The police will be here in a few minutes. They are coming for you, Eleanor. I have come to warn you.
My heart beat wildly. I looked around the studio, at the paintings hanging on the wall and the ones yet to dry. This was all her fault. She had forced me to do this, to lie to people and sell them fakes. A lone tear appeared at the side of my eyes. I don't want to go to jail, Mom. Please, I don't want to go to jail. She shook her head at me.
You must call me Sally when we are in private, Eleanor. I am not your mother and I never will be.
I wiped my tears, but more came, filling the back of my throat. Sally was not my mother. She'd made that clear abundantly. When she spoke to the press, she referred to me as a charity case, as one that she picked because she pitied me as a child and could not bear to leave me at the orphanage home. She spoke of me as a true daughter that she was truly proud of, producing paintings for her and making the nation proud. All this she spoke of in public. I don't want to go to jail.
Well, neither do I.
She opened the doors of the studio far and wide, then stood apart from me. I was tainted in the old and new colors of my new painting, a forgery of the original one. She was the one who put me up to this. She was the one who pested for years when she discovered that I could paint. It was Sally who did all this, and now I was the one who was going to jail. No, I said out loud. No, I'm not doing this. I'm going to tell them the truth. I was cut short by the raving crowd that came into the studio. Leading them was Mrs. Rudy, one of the wealthy women in Sally's class. She was here a month ago, excited to have found an original Louis Tardis painting in the studio. It was worth a few $100 million, but she did not care. She wanted it, and she had it. Mrs. Rudy screamed and pointed at me.
There she is. Sally was hiding her in her painting room all these while.
Sally watched me for a moment before turning to her.
My dear friend, this is all a misunderstanding, please.
It is not. You sold me a fake painting, and you sold everyone here the same too.
Shouts of "yeah" filled the air. They were not wrong. Sally had sold fake painting, and it was all painted by me. Being in a color-stained apron in the midst of everyone was telling enough. That was why she had opened the door, why she had brought me out here, so that I would take the blame. There had been no time to repair, no time to run. The tears came to my eyes as I saw two policemen walk in with handcuffs. One was reading a paper whilst holding something in an envelope, while the other was watching me in the way one looks at criminals. They were all looking at me that way, like I have committed a grave sin, and I have.
She sold us fake painting.
One of the people in the crowd yelled.
Forged paintings of popular artists and collected millions from us. Millions.
Sally raised her hand in the air, as if trying to appease the crowd. She said a few words of pleadings before someone else stepped in, an employer in the studio.
Guys, I am so very sorry about this. I tried to stop Eleanor, but she would not listen. Sally tried to stop her too, but all she wanted was the money. She made the paintings and bullied all of us into selling them for her.
I watched in stunned surprise. This cannot be happening. Not me, please. The whole crowd turned to me, as if seeing me with new eyes. Before I was the painter and the criminal. They all wanted to believe that Sally pushed me into it, but now I was the painter, the criminal, and the propaganda. No, please, this is wrong.
What is wrong is you deceiving thousands of people just to make sales.
The employer sneered at me.
Everyone thought you're so sweet, but you're in fact very evil.
Sally began to weep. I expected everyone to see through it, but they did not.
I'll make all the refunds. Please, I tried to warn Eleanor, but she wouldn't listen. Please let me bear this loss.
That's not possible.
The policeman who was reading said. He raised the paper in his hand.
Miss Eleanor, these are records of money laundering that was found in the boot of your car, amongst other things.
The crowd gasped. Now I was a full-blown criminal, and Sally was devoid of all crimes. My eyes became wide with horror while she started to cry earnestly.
This is all my fault.
She cried when police approached me.
I should have trained her better, taught her better. I deserve to be thrown in jail with her.
The police reached me and placed a hand on my shoulder as he turned me around.
Miss Eleanor, you are under arrest for forgeries of paintings, impersonations, money launderings, and thefts. You have the right to remain silent and...
I tuned out his voice, still in shock. I stare at Sally and the employer, realizing now that she had set me up before coming to the studio. She had pushed all the blame at me, and she bribed the employer too. I felt a deep pain in my chest, and the feeling of loneliness attacked me again. If she was my real mother, Sally would not have thrown me under the bus like she was doing now. Only I had one. I sat down at the back seat of the police car, watching. My hands were cuffed before me, in between my thighs. This can't seriously be happening. They should know that Sally was lying, that I would never actually do it all on my own. She was part of it, her and her daughter. They had put me up to this and betrayed me at the very end. As if on cue, Peggy ran into the scene and in her mother's arms. She looked like Sally in every way, evil and scheming, except she was exceptionally beautiful, like a supermodel. She never did like to accept that she was beautiful, though. She always taunted me, complaining of my perfect green eyes, the fading freckles across my nose, and my high cheekbone. She cried in her mother's arms now, flinging her hair back to look at me.
Oh, Mother, is it true? I heard the news.
Yes, it is true.
She stared at me then, shaking her head like she was deeply disappointed.
Mom, I told you she was bad news when you got her this place.
Sally wiped imaginary tears away.
If only I had listened to you, my love.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sighing, they both turned to the small crowd to discuss the misfortune of having me as an adopted family. Sally spoke again about how she adopted me because she had been unable to bear a child. I had been a blessing, she said. She conceived of Peggy almost immediately, and I turned out to be her worst nightmare. She still loved me, and she wished to follow me to jail and teach me a new way of life.
Please don't. You know she will never learn. She's a lost cause. Just let it go.
Sally wiped her tears, letting her immaculate mascara run through her face so they see how serious it is. I felt distraught, betrayed, and worse than I'd ever felt in the past year. I wished the police would just drive away and not question some people in the premises. How long would this go? Would I continue to be paraded and viewed like an idiot? Only my husband could save me this moment. Only Damon would know what to do. He would tell them that I was innocent, that I'd never pull this off on my own anyways. It was all controlled by the Lenz family. If only he would come out here and... My thoughts came to a stop when O saw Damon's car. When he parked at the corner and jumped out of his luxurious Range Rover, relief filled me. He had heard the news and come to defend me. He knew that I was unjustly framed. Damon looked around, seeking for me. He hadn't seen me in the car and didn't even look in that direction. Peggy left her mother's side and talked to a few persons on the phone, and that was when he saw her. He rushed to her, gripping her arms. Peggy let her phone fall into her pocket as she glared at him.
What is your problem? What are you doing?
Peggy, I want you to marry me.
She gasped in shock, and so did I. If anyone told me my husband would be going after my sister, I'd laugh at them. Peggy drew her arms back, still glaring at him.
And why the hell will I marry you? You're with Eleanor.
We're getting divorced, I promise. And then the both of us can be together.
I raised my hand to my stomach to press against the fluttering emotions I felt there. Peggy watched him, surprised and upset that he was saying all these to her.
Damon, whatever is going on between you and Eleanor...
Nothing is going on between the both of us.
Damon hurriedly interrupted.
Nope, I don't know anything. I'm getting married and it's not to you.
Why not me? My feelings for you are strong.
Peggy laughed, startling the both of us. I was so invested in their discussion that her laughter made me jerk back a bit and realize that tears were flowing from my eyes. Damon had been eyeing Peggy all these while, and she was not even remotely interested in him.
It would never work, Damon. Who do you think you are, coming here to confess to me? Have you even looked for my sister? Do you know where she is?
Damon looked around dismissively.
She's not the one I came here for.
Yeah, obviously not. Listen, as much as I am flattered by obsession with me,
She flipped her hair back to show elegance and style.
we are not meant to be, Damon. You are for my sister, and only my sister.
Why is that? What do you mean by that statement?
Peggy only smiled and turned away. She didn't need to explain. I know what she meant. How tragic. The trail if my family ran far and deep. My husband Damon was of the Messiah family, which clung to the Lenz family tightly for social status. He liked Peggy more than he liked me, and he kept saying it until one meeting with Sally, and then he came out and asked me to marry him. Now I see clearly that she wanted me to marry the poor one and for Peggy to marry the wealthy one. I scoffed, my tears still holding strong behind my eyes. Damon was about to leave when I called out to him. Damon, hey! He turned to the police car and saw me in its back seat. Damon looked around, finally understanding why the little crowd had gathered. I heard what you said to Peggy, I said sharply, my head hanging out from the car window. Is it true, Damon? Was all of it true? Would you divorce me in a heartbeat if, in case, she had accepted you? In answer, Damon nodded and brought out a piece of folded paper from his pocket.
When you're free, Eleanor, I'd like you to sign this here.